Alright, y'all, it's Jesse Jameson, the tax deed dude, and we're going bananas today. That's because the county officials have officially come back from winter break, and I'm super excited because next week we have over 400 auctions out of 22 different counties to choose from. So without further ado, let's dive right in. All right, y'all, it is Wednesday, January 8th, 2025, and we are going to look ahead for the tax deeds for next week. So the first thing I like to do is go into the calendar search, which you can find under Find Property, Calendar Search here. And we can go ahead and go to our filters. And what we're going to do is include all of the counties, or you can include whatever you'd like. We're going to go ahead and include all of them, and we're looking for tax deed auctions under sale type. The auction status is going to be upcoming because we want to filter out our canceled and sold. We don't care about those. And our auction dates are going to be from next Monday to next Friday. So now we can see out of the entire state we have 17 tax deeds on Monday, 118 on Tuesday, Wednesday's got almost 200, and then Thursday's got 92. If we want to look at these individually and see, which counties are going off, we can click on them. And on the right hand side you can see our auctions have changed. So our auction date is strictly 1/14, and we're in the card view right now, which is very handy to see what individually is happening. These images are great. However, I like to go to our list view, and right now we can see there's 10 single family, 3 condos, 1 multifamily, 4 mobiles, and 99 land, right? So you're going to see most of the auctions coming up are going to be land by the time it gets to the auction date. A lot of these are going to redeem before then, so that's why we don't like to look at these more than a few days ahead, and at least give us some time to do some due diligence on them. So don't be disappointed or surprised if you look these up and unfortunately they're redeemed before they go to auction. And you can see we actually have one that says other. I'm not sure what that is. It's probably vacant land as well. It's just been miszoned or something funky in the appraiser site. So I'm going to go ahead and click on the tile view. And that gets us back to our photos and everything that we can see here. Let me open this back up to the full week instead of just Tuesdays. So we'll want to put that filter back on. And we can see there are 418 auctions going up next week. So let's go ahead and window those down into some that we want to look at, maybe possibly bid on, and we'll go from there. So from here, I can go ahead and export this. And from here, it's going to ask you 2 different things. We can either download our default property summary tab. You can say continue to download. That's going to be the very basic columns, but we want to go ahead and customize this. So we're going to go click on change CSV fields. And from here, if you're not familiar with PropertyOnion, you can see we have a plethora of information that we can add to any of these columns. So we have all this information, hundreds of fields. I've created my own spreadsheet columns that I really enjoy and have seemed to removed any of the unnecessary stuff. So I'm going to go ahead and just click Apply Columns, and we're going to see all of those features and all the columns that I normally look at, such as flood zone, the actual land use, we have the acreage here and everything like that. So this is really laid out exactly how we want to look at it. You can always customize this by going up to Customize Columns and then selecting what you like. You can also reorder your columns to make it nice and neat when you export it. So from here, we're going to go ahead and export. When I open up the file, this is going to be a very basic CSV file. I do like to save it as an Excel sheet. You can also use Google Sheets if you prefer. But from here, I'm just going to go ahead and copy all the information into the template that I've already created for myself. And now the first thing you're going to ask is, how in the world do we go through over 400 potential properties up for auction? So first and foremost, this is all of the counties, right? There are only specific counties that I really like to bid in. I specifically like the counties that use the real auction platform. So what I want to do is go ahead and eliminate the rest of them. So I'm going to go ahead and create a pivot table. And this is a little bit of advanced for anybody that doesn't know Excel or quite understand what I'm doing. I'm just going to walk you through it. When I create a pivot table here, I can take the counties and I can make them my rows. So I can see that I have 22 counties right now. Okay, what I'll do is go ahead and I'll just drop the case number into the values. This is going to be the count, so it's going to tell me how many are in each county that are coming up for bid. And I have created a personal spreadsheet for myself of the counties that have the information of where they're at, the county information, where the tax deed location is, so if it's in person or online. So I'll go ahead and just filter mine by the real auction results here and copy these into my other spreadsheet. So let me just go ahead and grab these counties. I'm going to copy and paste them into the other spreadsheet. And I have a little trick where I just like to use conditional formatting to duplicate the values so I can see which ones are coming up and which ones are not. So what this tells me is I want to go ahead and remove Broward, Collier, and Miami-Dade. So these are on different platforms that I really don't prefer to bid in. So I'm going to go ahead and remove Broward, Collier, and Miami-Dade, and that'll give us at least, let's see, 43 removed from our 418. Now, say I'm in the mood to buy some land 1 acres or larger. This is very easy to do once I go into my property type here, and I can simply just look for land, vacant land. As you can see, they also have like wasteland down here. You definitely don't want any of that. If you're in the market for any of these other ones, you can follow the same procedures. But basically, I'm going to land. That's going to limit me down now to 262. And say my acreage is going to be greater than, we'll go ahead and put 0.8 in and see what comes up. So definitely reduced it down. And now we're looking at 28 properties. So again, these 92 properties are pretty good, but I'm going to go ahead. I can keep these 99s. Technically, this 1/10 or 1/100th, I'm sorry, could just be a default in the appraiser site or something similar. So I'm actually going to keep everything from 0.9 on. So let me just get rid of that 0.84. And we'll make this 0.9. There we go. So I can see and just double check. So this has some sort of building structure. This is probably maybe a shed. Or maybe even a knockdown mobile home. And you can see, so we have assessed land value anywhere from 1,100 to 316,000. So that's going to be a good one right there. The next thing I like to look at now is the flood zones. So as I mentioned before and many times, just because it's in a flood zone doesn't mean it's not buildable, especially in Florida. Half of Florida is in a flood zone and they still build everywhere. But what we really don't want is floodplains, right? So I see 2 floodplains. It says 100% floodplains right here. And just for shoots and goggles, let's go ahead and check these out and you can see exactly what I'm talking about. All right, so it's 1 acre. It looks really good, right? Let's go ahead and go to our map here. And there you go. So we can see, so Citrus County is notorious for having wetlands and floodplains and a whole bunch of marshland. It's intermittent. As you can see, there are, some that are built along the canals and breezeways here. But this is definitely going to be hard to build on. I can just see all of the marshland right here. And this probably is fine. So across the street, you could probably build right here. This you cannot. So we're going to go ahead and remove that from our list here. All right, now that we've eliminated 2 of them, we can go ahead and go back to our flood zones here. Now, flood zone A is not what we want. Flood zone X is the best. That means that it has minimum flood hazard. But as you can see, so some of these are 100%. We're good to go. Don't have to worry about those. But you'll see down here, so minimum flood zone X, 65, 53, 43, 29%. So that means that the flood zone is good, meaning there's no flood zone, in a percentage, that percentage of the lot. So if we look at our acreage here, so say this one is 1.42 acres, that means that 65% of those 1.42 acres are not in a flood zone. So we just want to double check this. As long as we have more than an acre, well, at least these are 1 acres. So if we don't have to worry about infill lots at this point, I'm confident that these would be good. We'll check them out later just to be safe. What I'm really worried about is these zone A's. So we have zone A's, and the same thing goes with this. So we have AE and A, 8%, and then our X is only, well, X is 92% on this one. This is good. But up here we have 0% in flood zone X, 100% in flood zone A. These are the flood zones we want to check and just make sure that we have any sort of room for buildability. And that it's not just useless land. Okay, so we have our flood zone hyperlinks in here, this flood zone map. So let's go ahead and go to these. So we can see this is exactly in the flood zone. This is definitely not a buildable area. You can see there's buildings outside of this area, this teal color, but nothing will be inside of this area. More so, this is pretty much like a floodplain in and of its own. So this is probably where some sort of stream or river might flow into, but we definitely don't want this. Okay, we can go on to the next property and pull it up here, and again, we're in the same situation. Looks like a whole bunch of flooding, probably from these little lakes here. Now looks like some sort of building there, but as you can see, it's not in the flood zone. So from here, we just start going down the line and seeing which ones we want to pick off here. This next one is about 27% not in a flood zone. So when we look that one up, this is when you got to start making your own call and your judgment on it. So you can see we don't have an outline of the property, unfortunately, but you can always go to the appraiser's link in PropertyOnion and kind of guesstimate it for the most part. So from here, I want to make sure I get on the map, and that way I'll be able to see the outline and kind of judge for myself. Let's get our aerials. Okay, so now we have a good outline to work with, and we can kind of see that the property, we can tell this building is probably this building here. So this is probably our area. I don't think this is enough for building, or at least the frontage of it is going to be in a flood zone. I would not be interested in this one. Some people may go ahead and bid on it, but that's not one for me, so I'll go ahead and remove this one. Now, I've got one here. This next one is 23% not in a flood zone, which may not seem like a lot, but it's actually 7.67 acres. So when I look this one up, it's a pretty good size. I can see that there's a lot of flood zones around here and marshland. And this looks like there's a lot of buildings though. So you can see there's a lot of farmland. I'm really liking this one. So let's go ahead and look at the appraiser site and see where we're at. And we're on the appraiser site. I'm going to go to the map of the property. And we can see there's quite a bit of the property here in the marshland territory, so to speak. But there's a good also size chunk that could possibly be buildable or farmland or some sort of grazing for cattle. What I'm seeing is this is actually in the back of what looks like maybe an easement, this road right here. So I'm looking for access when I'm doing this stuff. And there's the major road right here. We come off of this road, and it looks like there may be some sort of track. Actually, it looks like a fence line. So that could be troublesome trying to get access to this. Even though it's illegal to not have access, your neighbor has to grant you an easement. You really don't want to get into all of that. I've been through so many battles and had lost so much time and money trying to fight other neighbors in court just to get access to the property that I owned. So let's go ahead and put this one on the back burner. And I'd really like to see what this one actually goes for at the auction, because that's a good sized property. All right, I'm gonna go ahead and mark this one orange just so I know I don't really want to bid on it, but let's see what it goes for at the auction. So I'm gonna go to this next one here. It's 92% of 1.1 acres. That's definitely buildable area. So we'll check that one out as well. All right, so this looks much more promising. As you can see, we do have a little bit of the zone here, and it looks like maybe some flooding on the road potentially, but it looks like it's got road frontage, and we do have a good size. This is probably this chunk right here. So we can do some more research with our due diligence later, but this one is a go for me. So with that said, we can go ahead and move on to our Zone X minimum percentages. So this is 29% not in a flood zone. So we'll go ahead and check these out next. Now this next one here looks like it's pretty dead center on this zone here. So what I'm going to do, I went ahead and looked at this property, and it's quite unique. It has 1, 2, 3 lots about it, so you can kind of see just looking at this is probably that area of the flood zone, and there may be 1 or 2 more parcels in there. This is not enough This is only 1 acre, so that's probably 0.7 acres. This is not enough really to build on except that tiny little one. And I just know from personal experience, this area is not going to fetch enough for my 10,000 minimum profit. So we're going to pass on this one and move on to the next. Now, I noticed if you do come in and grab this hyperlink here that gets pulled into the spreadsheet, for whatever reason, the hyperlink is sometimes lowercase, and for whatever reason that happens, FEMA does not recognize it. So if that happens, all you have to do is go in here, capitalize the A in address and the Q in query, which I've never heard of anything being that sensitive, but for some reason FEMA is, so leave it up to the government. So here we go, and there's the next one. This one is looking better, but as you can see, so look, so we have buildings in zone A right here. So this is making me feel a little bit better about this area. And with this one, we had 57% out of 2 acres. So we've got at least an acre that, or I'm sorry, 43%. So we've probably got about an acre of good building area. So I'm good with that. And just looking at these numbers, we're good with 53% of 2.45 acres and 65% of 1.42 is it's still a good buildable area. So I think we're good with those. So now you can see with in just a few minutes, we narrowed it down from 418 properties down to what's looking like pretty good 21 properties in a few different counties here. So I just want to look at any of the assessed value appraisals, make sure that none of this stands out. If you see anything less than like $1,000, that's usually a red flag, but it doesn't necessarily mean it's a terrible property. Sometimes it's just a glitch in their system, and then sometimes it could just be that it has a really good tax exemption and the assessor value comes up really low, even though the value may be really high, right? So farmland is a great example of that. Now that we've got these narrowed down, what I can do is actually look at these one by one and make sure that they just look in general like good properties I would want to buy. So what we can do is start just with parcel numbers and go back to PropertyOnion and look at them and just check out the photos, see if there's any red flags, and go from there. And while I'm doing this, I'm going to go ahead and heart each one. So this way I can have a list and I can see which ones will easily be removed later when they get redeemed, right? So I'm just going to go through and do this really quickly. All right, now running through some of those, I definitely saw some that stood out that we might want to remove. I went ahead and favorited all of them just so we can look. We're going to go to your saved properties. And because I have previously saved properties, it's going to pull up pretty much everything that I've saved before. So I can go ahead into my filters and just do what's up and coming. Okay, so now we have our 21 properties, and just to double check, we do have 21 properties here, so we are good to go. And as you can see, they're all kind of scattered about. There's a couple up, looks like there's one in Defuniak Springs. That's a good area. We've got 10 in Citrus. That's a hot site right now. And a bunch of others kind of along the way. We've got 3 bundled here. 2 are in the same neighborhood. So that could be good for us for comping wise. So we'll just go from there. But just looking at some of these, like this one right here is a little worrisome. It's got a lot of water. It's on the other side of where all the buildings are, the houses are. And I don't think this is going to be buildable. There's some sort of plant or school there. So let's look into this one a little bit further. I'm going to go to our appraisal link first and just trying to get a better idea of the mapping. Maybe there's some sort of zoning issue going on. It looks like maybe a drainage area was surrounding it. So I'm just going to look through here and see if there's anything that stands out. It says vacant residential, 3.34 acres, no other code. I don't see anything that stands out, and actually our market value is ginormous. So this is looking really good, but let's check out the map. And as you can see here, we do have, gosh, this is some sort of pond. We're really gonna have to go into Google Maps to check this out a little bit better. Unfortunately, what we don't have is a actual address, right? So the easiest way to get around that is to see if you can click on one of these, right? And we can get address out of that. So here we go. Address is 396. We're gonna go ahead and just copy this, and we're gonna drop this into our Google Maps. So as we can see, it's really close to the Indian River. It looks like there's a lot of development around here, a lot of infill lots. This is looking really good. But that is also a red flag, because why is this 3 point somewhat acres not built upon? So now we can see actually this is a continuation of whatever this is here. So some sort of container, maybe a query. And it looks like there's a temple here. That's interesting. So I'd be curious to know what this is. If we go back to our appraiser site, we can kind of jump around and see who owns some of these. So we can see the owners on this one is Rick Welty. And so this guy that owns this property also owns a property that is up for auction, as well as this looks like an easement strip of land. So it doesn't give an actual company or what they're doing. This looks like the temple here, Manav Mandir. So the question I would have next is, what can we do with this property, right? Let's check again with the zoning. So we have our property use is 0009, vacant residential land, single family unplatted. This does not tell me if it's a commercial property, okay? I don't see anything that says that it's commercial, but again, we're looking at the market value is really, really high on this. So I would put this as let's put this as an orange in our sheet. So I'll put that one again on the back burner. I like it, but I want to make sure that we can build on it. I also think that's probably going to get redeemed, especially if the person that owns it also owns this area up here, and it looks like there is a really nice property there. So most likely this will get redeemed, and we don't want to put too much effort into it for that reason. Okay, so I'm looking down and I've got all these others. Looks like a lot of really good vacant land. There's a weird triangle situation going on here. Now this is Point Siena. If you're not familiar with Point Siena, it's a huge development, very popular area, and kind of exploding with the tax deeds the last few years here. Let's check out the appraiser. And we have a golden nugget, vacant commercial, 3.13 acres. Not in a redeveloped area. Not sure exactly what that pertains to this area or the HOA. It's odd when you see a large parcel of land inside of a residential area that has not been built upon. Normally the developers would have broken that up and sold it as smaller lots or built upon it themselves. So that's just a little key thing to watch out for when you see weird shaped properties like this in residential areas. Okay, we can see the owner is not a business. It is a private person that has owned this. Let's go ahead and get our base maps going and get some aerials on there. So it is interesting. Normally in an HOA type area, this would be some sort of water retention area or homeowners association, but I don't see that. So you can see every single one of these properties is built upon, right? So this is a very, very popular area. A lot of great stuff going on here developmentally. So why is this one sitting there? That's my question. I do really like it. If we can do our due diligence and we don't find anything wrong with it, I think it's a great potential property to bid on. But again, I'd want to dig in deep. So we've got a couple across the way that are very similar. And as you can see, these are owned by companies. This might be the actual developer. So here we go, Florida District of the Church. So I guess a church may own that, or it could have been donated. Anything could have happened. That's why we love tax deeds, right? So all this cool stuff going on. So we're going to keep that one in there and just check out the rest. And everything looks good. These are all good squares, very typical. Here's a very small square. Not square, it's actually a very thin rectangle. Let's go back to elementary school on this one. So there's not a lot of development around here. I want to make sure, let's see, yeah, 1 acre. So this is a very small 1 acre property. And in Melrose, I just know this one is not going to stand up to my $10,000 minimum profit. This may be worth about $5,000 to $7,000, maybe more, never know, but I do not believe this is probably a good one for us. Let's just double check and see what the value on that is estimated at. Okay, yeah, so we can say assessed land value at 12, assessed value at 18, so it could be going more or less, you know, it could get picked up anywhere between 10 to 15,000. Unfortunately, it goes really high lately, and it's just not going to be enough margin for me. So I'm going to go ahead and take this one out. And I'm going to unheart it. Sorry, we're breaking up Melrose. And moving on to the next one. So this is a good one. I really like this one, especially in Dunellen. That's a really good up-and-coming area. Near Ocala, which is a equestrian center. This looks like it was probably developed or maybe even some sort of recreational area, but I just want to double check that before I get further. This is the one we already looked at that has the like 25% marshland. And then this is one that popped up. I don't know why this flood zone is ranked the way it is, because this looks like some sort of easement. Yeah, that's definitely an easement. So we're going to break up with Port St. Lucie. Sorry, bye-bye. And so now we've limited it down. So now we had 21, we just took out 2 or 3. And that's how easy it is to limit this down in PropertyOnion, right? That's why I love using this. It is so much easier to see things. I'm a visual person. I'm also a spreadsheet person. So when I can connect these two, it's just awesome. Super nerded out right now. So what we're going to do, I'm going to wait probably a couple more days to see if any of these get redeemed. And then come this weekend, I'll do a little bit more due diligence and see which ones I want to bid on. So there you have it, folks. We went from 418 properties down to 19, right? Again, these are my criteria that I was just going off of. I'm going to go back and look at a few more. Definitely want to bid on a lot of stuff this week up and coming, because there's a lot of good things going on. If you guys really like this PropertyOnion setup, go ahead and check in the description below. I've got a 7-day free trial for you guys. I absolutely love it. It takes away a lot of time off of my back. Definitely better than spreadsheets, even though I still like to combine the two because I'm a super nerd. While you guys are down there in the description, check out the link for my free VIP access. I'm going to be announcing something very soon. It's going to be huge and revolutionize the Florida tax deed industry. Nobody else is doing this. It's something that a lot of my followers have been asking me for, and I decided to just go ahead and jump on into it. So if you are wanting to get that free VIP access and find out and be the first to know about what's going on, go ahead and click the link below. And there's also a little something I added as an exclusive offer for you guys. I hope this video helped you guys out a lot. I know it's a lot of information being thrown at you, and it's just a lot of technical stuff, but really once you get into it, it's just a matter of finding the right ones. Follow me on YouTube, and I'll be posting hopefully weekly videos like this, more coming at you, and also some follow-up videos to see where we landed next week. And stick with me on the journey, and we'll go from there. All right? Till next time.